Hello, my fellow kids. It's time for reading with Uncle James. This is A Lear of the Steppes by Ivan Turgenev. In the middle of October, 3 weeks after my interview with Martin Petrovich, I was standing at the window of my own room in the second story of our house, and thinking of nothing at all. I looked disconsolately into the yard and road that lay beyond it. The weather had been disgusting for the last 5 days. Shooting was not even to be thought of. All things living had hidden themselves. Even the sparrows made no sound, and the rooks had long ago disappeared from sight. The wind howled drearily, then whistled spasmodically. The low-hanging sky, unbroken by one streak of light, had changed from an unpleasant whitish to a leaden and still more sinister hue, and the rain, which had been pouring and pouring mercilessly and unceasingly, had suddenly become still more violent and more driving, and streamed with a rushing sound over the panes. The trees had been stripped utterly bare and turned a sort of gray. It seemed that they had nothing left to plunder, yet the wind would not be denied, but set to harassing them once more. Puddles clogged with dead leaves stood everywhere. Big bubbles, continually bursting and rising up again, leaped and glided over them. Along the roads the mud lay thick and impassable. The cold pierced its way indoors through one's clothes to the very bones. The involuntary shiver passed over the body, and how sick one felt at heart. Sick, precisely, not sad. It seemed there would never again in the world be sunshine, nor brightness, nor color. But this rain and mire and gray damp and raw fog would last forever. And forever would the wind whine and moan. Well, I was standing moodily at my window, and I remember a sudden darkness came on, a bluish darkness, though the clock only pointed to 12. Suddenly I fancied I saw a bear dash across our yard from the gates to the steps. Not on all fours, certainly, but as he is depicted when he gets up on his hind paws. I could not believe my eyes. If it were not a bear I had seen, it was anyway something enormous, black, shaggy. I was still lost in wonder as to what it could be when suddenly I heard below a furious knocking. It seemed something utterly unlooked for, something terrible was stumbling headlong into our house. Then began a commotion, a hurrying to and fro. I quickly went down the stairs, ran to the dining room. At the drawing room door, facing me, stood my mother, as though rooted to the spot. Behind her peered several scared female faces. The butler, 2 footmen, and a page, with his mouth wide open with astonishment, were packed together in the doorway of the hall. In the middle of the dining room, covered with mire, disheveled, tattered, and soaking wet, so wet that steam rose all around and water was running in little streams over the floor, knelt, shaking ponderously, as it were, at the last gasp, the very monster I had seen dashing across the yard. And who was this monster? Harlove! I came up on one side and saw, not his face, but his head, which he was clutching with both hands in the hair that blinded him with filth. He was breathing heavily, brokenly. Something positively rattled in his throat. And in all the bespattered dark mass, the only thing that could be clearly distinguished was the tiny whites of his eyes, straying wildly about. He was awful. The dignitary came into my mind whom he had once crushed for comparing him to a mastodon. Truly, so might have looked antediluvian creature that had just escaped another more powerful monster, attacking it in the eternal slime of the primeval swamps. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for listening. Please comment and subscribe and ring the bell and send me nude pictures and money, I don't know, other things. Send me stuff, like an Elephant Man skeleton. I could use an Elephant Man skeleton. Everybody can, can't they?